Now, if you've been following this channel this month, you will know that the topic of discussion has been money magic. And the reason I actually decided to do money magic this month was because one of my subscribers, Elizabeth, actually asked about a book by Damon Brand called the Magical Cashbook. And in that book, you work with a spirit called Nikita. Now, me being the inquisitive person that I am, decided to go a bit deeper into who Nikita was. And let me tell you, the rabbit hole just keeps going down and further down and down and down and down. It's almost never ending. So I wanted to actually cover that today. And also I just wanted to briefly have a look at the Cashbox that is mentioned in Financial Sorcery by Jason Miller. So let's get into that. Right, so I think let's start with the Cashbox because it's a bit quicker than the other topic. Right, so the Cashbox, as I said, is mentioned in Financial Sorcery. So basically, I've made one. It's actually, I used Gilder's paste, the antique gold, to actually cover the outside and the inside. So you got the antique gold finish right through the box. And then the lid itself, what I've done is I've got the 4 symbols. So we've got the astrological symbol of Jupiter, and then the seal, intelligence and spirit on the 4 corners. And then there is a seal of the 4th pentacle of Jupiter in the middle there. It's just very basic. I mean, it's a basic, just quick, cheap wooden box, really. And then the seal here is actually a wooden coaster. They sell these at the local shop for crafts and stuff like that, decoupage people and whatnot. So I just took that. I got a Dremel recently, which I'm absolutely enjoying. I think everything's going to get carved and engraved and whatnot. Yeah, so I took the Dremel, I created the seal and then just painted it in silver. And the symbols themselves, the seal, intelligence, spirit, etc., are engraved and then just painted with pure gold paint. So yeah, I think it came out pretty well. I'm quite happy with it. Now, what you do with the box, as mentioned in Jason Miller's book, is the first thing you want to do is actually line the bottom inside with soil, and that soil should come from your bank. Now, this can be a bit difficult. I know for me it's extremely difficult because my bank, my specific branch, in fact, I think most all of the branches are in a shopping centre, and so there is no soil outside the actual bank itself. So I was thinking, okay, maybe I can try and, maybe there's a plant pot or something there that I can take some soil from that. Nothing. So it's a bit difficult to actually line the base with soil. The reason you would actually use soil from your bank is simply because that's where you do your banking, that's where you put your money, and that's where you put your investments in some cases. So the soil from the bank is then imbued with the energy of money, making money, saving money, etc., etc. It's the same type of principle you would use if you were using graveyard dirt, for instance. If you go to a graveyard, you want to get graveyard dirt or specific dirt that would help you in a legal matter, then you can find a grave of a person who was a lawyer, a very good lawyer, and you can take dirt from there. If it's you want to become a good entrepreneur, then you would find the grave of a person who was a good entrepreneur, you would take dirt from there and you would use that in your magic. So it's the same principle. You would go to the bank, you would take some dirt from outside the bank, some soil, and you would then line the base of the box. But as I say, very difficult in some cases. So you may have to forego the soil or try and find an alternative. Oh, sorry, I've actually forgot to say, inside is the square of Jupiter. Okay, I think you can see that. It's engraved and again painted with silver. So yeah, the outside is 4 symbols and the 4th pentacle of Jupiter, and the inside is the square of Jupiter. So anyway, if you can get the soil, then you would line the inside with that soil. Otherwise, what you can do if you're feeling a bit sneaky is get a bag of soil from your garden and try and hide it somewhere at the bank. It might be discovered, but if you can find a good hiding place, then you might be lucky. But just take it to the bank. Take it to the bank on a new moon, hide it somewhere, and then the next new moon go and fetch it. And that should imbue enough energy to actually work. So if you can do that, then try that. Otherwise, you just have to forego the soil. I can't think of any other way you can actually get soil from the bank if there is no soil outside the bank. So anyway, if you can get soil, you line the bottom of the box, just on the bottom there with the soil, and then you put in items. Now the items can be anything to do with attracting money and keeping money. You can put a lodestone in there, for instance. You can put magnets. You can put herbs and roots that would attract. So cinnamon, for instance, is quite a good one. Cinnamon bark. Thyme is also a good herb to use. But there's lots of correspondences online. So go and have a look at those. Find out which ones are great for attracting and keeping money, and then you can put those items in. You can put all different kinds of items. They don't just need to be herbs and roots. You can also put some personal items in, nail clippings, hair cuttings, things like that, just to personalize the energy to you. Then what you do with the cash box itself, once you've got all that stuff in, and you can also use oils, intention oils. So you can use a money draw oil and a money keeping oil. So you might want to do like the money draw oil on the outside of the box and just anoint the inside with the money keeping oil. The money keeping oil would just basically be the aspect of you have the money, you don't want it to just disappear. You want to keep it in the sense that you want it to grow. So you would keep it with investments and things like that. But the whole real purpose for the cash box is to actually take banknotes. So draw some money, take the banknotes, and you can anoint those banknotes in the oil, and if you can get money draw powder, for instance, you can use that. Now, what you would do with the banknote, you would anoint the 4 corners and the center with the oil, making the quincunx, artificial crossroads. And if you've got sachet powder, then you can just put your 2 fingers into the sachet powder, and then all you do is just like a snake running along the banknote itself. So you take some banknotes, you anoint them with the oil and the powder if you've got, and then all you do is put them in the cash box, and you just leave them there for a while. You can leave them for a full moon, just to give it that moon power and timing and things like that. And then you take the money out and you go spend it. And that money is then imbued with the intention of drawing more money, to bring more money to you. So as you spend it, then it increases in value, or it increases as it comes back to you. So that really is the purpose of the money box, or the cash box. And it's a nice little one that I actually like doing. Now, this is actually the same principle as using a spirit box. And the spirit box can be used very successfully with the Goetia spirits. I've used spirit boxes in the past very successfully. It's actually one of the methods I love using. So you would do the same thing. It doesn't have to be a big box like this. I've got a bigger box because, you know, if you're going to put banknotes in, you want them to actually, you know, fit in there. But with a spirit box, you can make a smaller box. And all you would do is exactly the same thing, really. You would take the seal of the spirit and you would engrave that on the lid. And then you would just put items in there that correspond with the spirit that the spirit actually likes. And you would work with the spirit in that manner. So you are, it's almost like a mini altar. So the spirit box would contain the energy and the power of the spirit. Now, saying that, I'm not saying that you're trapping the spirit in the box. You're not calling the spirit into the box and closing the lid, and you know you've got the spirit, and then when you let the lid, take the lid off, you release the spirit and it must go out and do things for you, and then you trap it again. That's not what I'm saying. What you're doing is each spirit has a particular energy which ties into the aspect that they work in, or the area that they work in. So whether it's drawing money, whether it's building an empire, whether it's laying waste to your enemies, you know, whatever the tasks or the aspect that that spirit actually is connected with, you are building up that energy, that aspect within the box. And you're just asking the spirit to just put energy into it, their energy. Now, you might have found online a lot of people selling spirit boxes and also jewelry and things like that they claim has the spirit in it. And they charge astronomical amounts for these things. Don't believe a word they say. A spirit will not be trapped in an object. It's just as simple as that. If you try and call this spirit and trap it in a piece of jewelry like a ring or a necklace or something, it's not going to get trapped in there. The energy of the spirit can imbue into the object itself, but the spirit will not be in that object. No matter what anybody tells you, the spirit is not in that object. So what they're really selling is an item which has been imbued with the energy of the spirit, and it carries that energy with it. Now, I do fear that a lot of people who do this don't actually do anything at all. All they do is take a piece of jewelry and they advertise it as X, Y, and Z, and they sell it for huge amounts of money. But they've actually done nothing to it. And then what happens is the person purchases the item and their own belief actually is what is working. So I'm not saying it doesn't work. It does work if the person purchasing the item has the belief, and that belief drives the intent forward. But you know, just be careful what you find online. There's a lot of scammers out there. So anyway, that's the cash box and the spirit box. Now I want to get onto the topic of Nikita. Okay, so as I said, Elizabeth asked about the Magical Cashbook by Damon Brand. And the principle behind the cashbook is that you call on the spirit of Nikita and you draw his seal, which Damon Brand and his group have created. You put the seal into the book, and you know there's various things that you do with the book to actually empower it. And then all you do is you start writing amounts in the book, and those amounts then come to you. They're attracted to you. So kind of sympathetic magic. The same principle applies if you go and find S. Connolly's book, the Book of Agaras. It's the same thing actually. With the Book of Agaras, you can actually manifest anything you want, whether it's money, love, relationships, whatever. You just write it in the book, and then, you know, you do a whole ritual behind it, obviously, before you go and write in the book. Gaze into a piece of metal, reflective metal, and you repeat the N of Agaras and things like that, and then you write in the book, and it manifests. But I decided to go and look up on more on this spirit Nikita, because I've never heard of Nikita before. Okay, so it is actually mentioned in Magical Cashbook that the mention of, or the use of Nikita was actually written about in 2 books by Jeff gray-cobb. And these 2 books are related to his new avatar power, or in short, NAP, N-A-P. And these books were actually written in the 70s, and they read very typically like your 70s, you know, miracle books. So, you know, as you're reading through, you're getting the information, but it's got these testimonials scattered throughout the book that, you know, somebody came along to one of his lectures, learnt the way to do the new avatar power ritual, and went home, did it, and all of a sudden won thousands and thousands of dollars the next day. But I'm not going to guarantee that it's going to happen immediately for everybody. It could do, but sometimes it takes a bit of work to actually get there. So I've actually started working with the new avatar power ritual to actually see the effects of it, but it's very new, very early days, so I'll probably have to report on this later, and more exploration into Nikita and the other genii. Now, Nikita isn't just the only spirit that's mentioned in New Avatar Power. There's a number of them, and as you go through the book, you find that there are different genii that you used to bring various different things. So you have your invocation to win contests. You have your invocation to increase wealth, which is what the Nikita genie is used for. And then you've got the invocation to increase success and winning court cases, and you know, control people's minds, and all these different invocations that you use. So the idea is, right at the beginning of the book, it gets a bit more in depth and involved as you go through the book, but the basic ritual is that you do the short New Avatar Power ritual, which is actually a hypnotic, trance-inducing self-suggestion thing. Then once you've done that, then you read the invocation and you let the spirit communicate with you in whichever manner it chooses to. What I have done, I've added a page on my blog, and I'll link to it below in the description. So I've recorded the new Avatar Power ritual, or the NAP ritual. So I've uploaded that recording, and I've also uploaded the text for the NAP ritual itself, just in case you want to go and record it and use it for yourself, or you can just use the recording that I've done. And then it's also got the text for all the invocations. Do try and find the book. It is online. It is quite expensive if you're going to buy the paperback or even the Kindle version, but you can find it elsewhere. So you know, try and find the book, try and get it, read through it, and actually understand this whole thing a bit better. But what I'm doing is just uploading the basics to my blog, so you can just get started on it if you want to, and see if it works for you. If it does, then explore a bit more in depth. So as I say, Nikita is not just the only spirit that is mentioned in the book. And these spirits So yeah, I went a bit deeper into where these spirits actually come from, and they are from the Noctemeron by Apollonius of Tyana. Very interesting character, if you want to find out a bit more about him. He was part of the Pythagoreans, a member of the Pythagoreans. Now, the first English version of the Noctemeron was placed as an appendix in Transcendental Magic by Eliphas Levi. So if you want to actually have a look through that, it's quite brief, but it's quite a nice explanation in there. Levi also goes into comparing it with the 12 hours of the creation of man from the Hebrew Talmud, which is quite informative. But the Noctemeron itself is 12 hours. It's split into 12 hours. And those 12 hours are basically the process of initiation that somebody would take. Now, the genii themselves, which are in the book, so every hour is split into a particular point of initiation during the process. And each hour has various genii that are associated with that hour and that process that happens within the hour. And those genii are what is in the nap rituals. And the genii themselves are Assyrian. And there is no association with them being angelic or demonic or anything like that. They are just basically the forces of nature. So these genii are old and powerful. Now, here's where the rabbit hole just gets deeper and deeper and deeper. So if you do a good deep dive into these genii, you're going to find some information online which is quite in-depth. And there is a thread on Becoming a Living God forum that I'm also going to link to in the description, which is incredibly in-depth. The guy has been working with NAP for quite a while, and he's really examined it. And guy, girl, I don't know if it's a male, man or woman actually, so excuse me there. But there is mention of being able to use it with astrological magic, natural magic, whatever magic you actually want to use it with, and it especially works well with Enochian magic. At the end of the actual nap ritual, which is the trance-inducing hypnotic ritual, it is very short, but I tell you what, it really does put you into a trance like that. It's actually brilliant. But at the end of that ritual, you call on Arzel. And Arzel is an Enochian spirit of air. So you call Arzel from the east. Now, in this thread, she goes into a very in-depth discussion and examination of the nap ritual and the whole nap system, really. But they also give a very lengthy alternative to this nap ritual, which, if it doesn't put you into a trance, nothing will. She even says at the end, even if it puts you into trance out of sheer boredom, it will put you into a trance. So go and have a look at that. It's a lengthy ritual. It's a combination of different methods within it, and it's simple stuff. All you do is record it into your voice recorder, onto whatever device you have, and then you just play it back to yourself and you go into this trance. So there's no elaborate rituals or anything like that. Obviously you can create elaborate rituals around it. You can open circle, you can actually use the Enochian spirits. This ritual he gives actually does work with the Enochian spirits of the 4 quarters. But anyway, I'll let you discover that. How deep you want to go with this is up to you. but let me tell you, it goes extremely deep. You can just carry on going and going and going, because once you make the connection with the Enochian or the astrological magic or whatever direction you want to go in, then you just go even deeper. And this all started from a little chapbook by Damon Brand, so, you know. There is also another book that's floating around as a PDF, The Noctemeron of Apollonius of Tyana, by a gentleman called J. van, I think you pronounce his surname Richenbau, or Richenborg. Not sure how you pronounce it. It's spelled Rijkkenborgh. It was published in 1975, and it's a Rosicrucian text. But in that book, he goes into each hour individually and gives an extremely well thought out and in-depth explanation of each of the hours, what they signify, and really does examine the 12 hours. But there's no mention that I could find of the genii that is associated with the 12 hours and the Noctemeron. But if you do want to learn more about the origins of this, then very good book to read. So at this point, I don't think there's much more I can mention. As I say, I thought I would just go into, have a look at new avatar power and get all the answers and give them to you at the end of the month. But as I go further and further into it, it just goes more and more in depth and deeper and deeper and deeper. So it's going to take quite a while to actually extrapolate all of this information out and give it to you. So maybe later in the year, I'll be able to do a follow-up on this. But if you want to actually have a look yourself, I wanted to give you some direction and some areas that you can actually look at, and books you can actually go and check out. As I say, there are 2 books by Jeff gray-cobb about new avatar power. There's also, I did see, which I haven't actually had a look at yet, there is a more modern follow-up of the whole NAP system, as far as I can tell. But as I say, I haven't actually gotten that book or looked at it yet, so I'll have to put that into the mix and just see what that's about also. So I will see you on Friday. Friday is going to be the normal live at 4 p.m. GMT. I'm going to actually just talk about what is going to be happening next month. I've got a nice little surprise. Well, I think it's a nice little surprise. So I'm just going to talk about what's going to happen in March, what we're going to cover, because it's going to be a general month. But there's some pretty interesting stuff that I think we're going to be looking at. So anyway, see you on Friday. Hope you can make it, and have a good week. Cheers.